And blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning from the College of Idaho. Go Yotes. Here we are this morning promoting our school, securing our future, thanks to our friends at CapEd Credit Union and Team Mazda Subaru. Dr. David Douglas joining us, Vice President of Academic Affairs and Dean of the Faculty. Dr. Douglas, thank you for joining us this morning.
Good morning, Kevin. It's my pleasure to be here.
So let's talk a little bit about, I guess we're through the fall semester now. Is that correct?
We are. In fact, today is literally the last day of classes, so you'll see a special glow about the faculty and the students. I'm sure it's from thinking and working so hard around the clock, but we'll move into finals next week and then finish things out well in advance of Christmas.
Well, that is certainly wonderful for the students and the faculty. What really goes into a fall semester at the collegiate level? Sure, you've got football, the start of basketball, but you've got kids transitioning from high school to college, and the academic requirements here are pretty steep.
True, and I expect that's true of all college transitions that students make coming from high school the way they do. I think that the biggest one, honestly, has much to do with autonomy. You know, in high school, your day is structured. You have periods one after another. Typically, there are bells, and there are folks to ensure that you get where you're going. And the days are very long. You know, even those who have block schedules have a bit of variation, but a lot of structure in their days. In college, it's the opposite. There are no bells. Students can go to class or not as they wish. It doesn't generally turn out very well if they don't show up in class.
Right.
But you see my point. And so they have a great deal more freedom. And typically, students will take 4 classes a semester, and that's all. So they have a good deal of time between classes in which they're obliged to do a lot of work. And that really represents a remarkable transition. Going to college means, effectively, for a lot of kids, growing up.
Right, easier said than done at any age, sir. When we take a look at the college itself, education is such a competitive environment. College of Idaho has been getting a lot of attention nationally for its curriculum, for student life, for quality of student life, for value. How do you continue to build? College of Idaho has been around for many, many years, but to build on that in this world of, hey, you can zip here and zap here, education is, again, seems more like sports these days, very competitive. Maybe it always has been, sir.
No, I think, in fact, you're right. There's been a sort of a groundswell or a tectonic plate shift involving higher ed these days. It is more competitive, and I would say it's even more competitive going 2 directions. It's competitive for students to get into good colleges. It's also competitive among colleges looking for the best students because, of course, one of the things every college wants to offer is access to the best minds of a generation. So each college would like to say to each prospective student, come to us because you can work with some of the smartest kids, most capable aspirant kids in the nation, in some cases in the world. So relative to the College of Idaho, without carrying on too long about it, we're a particular model, a thinnest slice of higher ed. We are the type of educational model that only mints about 2 or 3% of the degrees nationally. We're a private, selective liberal arts college, which means it's not a place where you educate liberals. That's not what goes on here. It's a full range.
I would never ask you that question, sir.
We educate the full range of students for leadership, for citizenship. We want them to be employed as captains of industry and governors and perhaps presidents going forward. But we also want them to be interesting and humane. We want them to have vast interior space and live their lives in a way that's deeply satisfying to them and to their families. So to your point, that is the competitiveness of higher ed. Absolutely. College of Idaho is, by most metrics, the top college in the state in terms of the profile of students at entry, the retention rate, graduation rate. We have 74 countries represented in our student body, and we have fewer than 1,000 students. So that's a remarkable achievement for such a small community of students. It's also the case that our ratio is advantageous to students, about 9 to 1. So for every 9 students, we have a faculty member. So it's one of those places where you can get a great education at many, many different colleges and universities. I did myself. I'm a product of big state land-grant schools myself. But at a college like the College of Idaho, you can't hide from your education. The faculty will find you out. And if you don't show up to class, typically somebody comes ringing after you or wondering what's going on.
Right, and that is different from the model you have in most land-grant universities where you have classrooms of 100, 200 people. And look, we all have to get educated.
We do.
Right. This is just a different model. But you go back to the advantage of that 9 to 1 ratio.
Mm-hmm.
How big of a difference does that make?
Well, again, it's enormous, and if you take everything else aside, set it aside in terms of expectations or breadth, because that's another feature of liberal arts education. We want folks to have depth and expertise, but we also want them to have breadth. So nobody graduates from the College of Idaho without knowing something about many different things. And back to your point about the ratio. To be clear, I've already showed my hand. I'm the product of, like so many people, of large land-grant schools. I did my undergraduate, master's, and doctoral work East Coast, West Coast, like a lot of folks do, local state U's at the PhD level. I sought out the best program in my field, which happened to also be a very large land-grant institution. And it wasn't until I took my first position as a professor at a liberal arts college that it took me about a month or two to achieve the zeal of a convert. And in my family, we have 3 boys. For our sins, and all 3 of them are now products of liberal arts colleges. So that gives you some indication of the transition that I've made in my experience.
Dr. Douglas, what do you say to people that, to do some community service here this morning? The state of Idaho seems to have a tough time of kids graduating high school.
Absolutely.
Is there a solution to that? Because parents tune into this program, for news and commentary, but they also tune in for, the latest in education every Friday. We're out 20, 30 schools a year. Mm-hmm. So what would you say to folks that find education intimidating?
Well, first of all, let me just say how much we appreciate you, Kevin. I'm serious that education is the highest calling in my expectations, right up there with first responders and folks who work in healthcare. It's one of the transformative professions. And that's not to put one over any other. I'm just saying that in my world, education achieves long-lasting transformations, not only for individuals in terms of their class or status, capacity to earn a living, but also in terms of the way they see the world, the way they engage the world. They can be a force of good for others. And in many cases, that's true of their whole family going forward. So I've really experienced firsthand educational as that kind of magical, transformative action. So I really see it as something higher calling, so to speak, than simply a job. It's a vocation. It's a kind of a profession that takes your heart and your mind, with it. So to your point, Idaho, right? I mean, I love the state so much. There are so many advantages and I think, unique aspects to the state, our culture, our fierce independence. At the same time, we suffer greatly in terms of the things I've just mentioned, access to health care, and also education. And part of it is just, I think, historically, we haven't had a density of population that's really supported education. Part of it is we haven't had the resources to invest in education. And frankly, part of it has been education has not been among our highest priorities. And that must change going forward. It simply is an essential component of the kind of population that we seek to have in the future. And by that, I mean a capable, dynamic, transformed, educated population. Absent that, we won't attract good industry. We will find continuing problems of all manner in terms of social ills, in terms of challenges relative to families. Education is really a key component of so many different aspects of a healthy life.
Indeed. What I love is Lou Dobbs always talks about education being the great liberator for him. He has some Idaho connections. Mm-hmm. He worked in the potato fields with migrant workers, graduated Harvard, and there he is on the Fox Business Channel. But is there anything that parents could do? We hear so much of we're the first generation to go to college. You empower people here. What would you say to a parent that's worried about their kid?
Well, and the first lesson for every parent, and this has certainly been true in my own experience with my wife and our family and our 3 boys, involvement. Parents must be involved, and it's a full-time job, as any parent knows. And of course, every parent has his or her own challenges. Every kid is different. But all the evidence shows that parental involvement and accountability relative to students developing, their children developing, is the first and most important ingredient. You really need to sit down with your kids from the earliest time, and I'm talking about preschool, kindergarten, first grade. Be involved with your child. Make this a fun experience, an engaged experience. You need to do homework together. You need to have structure in your household. Evenings need to be spent talking about extending the lessons from the day. And by this, I don't mean that every household needs to devote all its time to, homework. I mean rather that school should be integrated into the experience the student has, not something completely separate, so that they come home and, they shift gears into a completely different life. School education should be an ongoing process. You should be giving your kid math problems in the backseat of the car while you're driving. You should be chatting about the animals that they learned about in Africa during the day before in their classes. And admittedly, for most folks, some point in middle school or high school, the math may begin to become a little foreign or a little distant, or may have forgotten the lessons that we once learned ourselves. But whether we ourselves are first gen, ever went to college, made it through high school or not, the attitude of engagement, the expectation that our kids should live a life of inquisitiveness and curiosity and achievement, that we never stop learning, is really the key feature.
Dr. Douglas, we appreciate you. Thank you.
It's my pleasure.
Got a little morning workout today looking for us, huh?
Yeah. Just a little bit of one. I may or may not have misplaced my umbrella, and it may or may not be raining outside, so I got a bit damp on the way over.
Well, thank you, sir. You have a great day.
It's my pleasure, Kevin. Thank you for having me.
Kevin Miller in the morning here, College of Idaho. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Coming up, California is suing the United States over the tear gassing at the border. We'll talk a little bit about that. Also, climate change. We've got a lot going on today. We actually have Secretary Zinke talking a little bit about climate change and this newest federal report. It's kind of crazy today. If you'd like to talk about that, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. The big news yesterday, you heard on Sean Hannity's show, weekday afternoons, 3 to 6 on KIDO Talk Radio, is Michael Cohen copped a guilty plea. Here is the president responding to it.
He was given a fairly long jail sentence, and he's a weak person. And by being weak, unlike other people that you watch, he's a weak person, and what he's trying to do is get a reduced sentence. So he's lying about a project that everybody knew about.
And there we have it at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. The president continued.
Michael Cohen has made many statements to the House, as I understand it, and the Senate. He put out a statement talking about a project which was essentially, I guess, more or less of an option that we were looking at in Moscow. Everybody knew about it. It was written about in newspapers.
So what to make of the Cohen plea? 580-5436, 580-KIDO.
He's lying very simply to get a reduced sentence.
We'd love to get your thoughts on that. We're at the College of Idaho today, taking your calls at 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio. So we've got a few issues that we'd love to discuss. A lot going on. Great to have Ray Amaya back at the Broadcast Center and Chandler here on location joining us this morning. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. And quick break, back with you. Kevin Miller in the morning here, KIDO Talk Radio. Phone number is 580-5436, 580-KIDO. So this is something from the Associated Press. California Attorney General Xavier Becerra is assessing whether the state can use legal action over the Trump administration's use of force against a caravan of migrants or a decision and future threats to shut the border with Mexico, he said in an interview with Reuters on Wednesday. Quote, "We've been approached by folks who have expressed complaints," the Attorney General said, "and we are monitoring what is occurring." Now, one of the things that I love is a topic like this, because this is nonpartisan. This is really common sense. You take a look at the federal government. Do they have a right to secure the border? Do they have a right to shut it down? Do they have a right to, when being attacked, to fire back, if you will? And tear gas has been used by the Obama administration. It's been used by others. Why in the world would we have an issue with this? Now, should the state of California opt to take legal action, they would join a lot of people protesting publicly over the implementation of the president's hardline immigration policies. And, that is, I guess you take it to court if you have an issue with it. But quite frankly, doesn't the president have a right to protect the border? Now, regardless of what you feel about the caravan, isn't that the issue here at 580-5436, 580-KIDO? We take a look at a lot of other things, whether it's the Keystone Pipeline that we learned about yesterday, where it's still being litigated. And by the way, if you miss any of our programs, you can always go to KIDOTalkRadio.com. Ray Amaya has them up by 10 o'clock, 10 a.m. at the latest, and you can catch all the shows without any interruption, and we sure appreciate that. Now, remember, California has limited jurisdiction to insert itself despite the clashes taking place on the state's border, because the federal government has sweeping control over the border and the administration of the immigration policy. But here you have, they're getting mad, they're getting ready to take the federal government to court. Are we going to see a day where we can't do anything at the federal level? I know Tom Munns would be happy about that. Well, see, that's federalism, and the state should be allowed to do that. But when it comes to national security, what do you think? Let's go to Eric in Nampa with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Eric.
Hey, Kevin, how you doing?
Good morning.
Hey, so last I checked, to be able to sue somebody, don't you have to be the injured party?
Apparently, yes.
So how is California the injured party if it was invading force of migrants that aren't California citizens, let alone American citizens?
Well, I don't think they see it that way, unfortunately.
Right. I mean, my opinion, these invaders are lucky they got gassed instead of shot. You're an invading force into a foreign country. That's an act of war.
Well, I think we'd see more than lawsuits if they were shot.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it.
Thank you,
Something
Eric.
to think about.
Yeah, and we appreciate you calling in so early.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Eric. Kevin Miller in the morning here, KIDO Talk Radio. You can join the conversation with Eric at 580-5436. 580-KIDO. Getting back to the story, though, you have California threatening to sue the federal government because the federal government is enforcing the border. That's right. If you're just tuning in, you've got the Attorney General of California basically saying, I can't act unless the rules are on our side. By the way, Becerra, a Democrat and former member of Congress who helped negotiate comprehensive immigration reform that never passed, used his role as the state attorney general to intervene on behalf of the child immigrants known as Dreamers when the Trump administration sought to revoke their status. So, back to what happened on Sunday. U.S. authorities fired tear gas toward the migrants in Mexico near the border, separating Tijuana from San Diego, when some rushed through the border, the fencing into the United States. Now, most of us, or maybe you agree, believe that the folks were defending themselves. I would agree with that. On the other hand, you have people now in the state of California threatening to sue. And we wonder why we have issues with people and their California license plates. Not going to mention anybody personally. Okay, 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio. Kevin Miller in the morning. Our time is 6:25 from the College of Idaho. Let's get you to work safely and on time.
What's Eric Everett?
And by the way, if you're in for the Mountain West Championship, welcome to the Treasure Valley. If you're a Fresno State fan, more than likely you've been here before. We wish you, a good luck and certainly a good time here as you're having fun here in the Treasure Valley. Big game tomorrow, of course. You can catch that game on ESPN, and we'll see what happens with the Bulldogs and the Broncos and who gets a shot perhaps at the Fiesta Bowl and who gets a shot at perhaps the famous Idaho Potato Bowl, which is coming up as well. Some people have the Broncos in the Fiesta Bowl. Other people have them in the Potato Bowl. So, again, welcome to folks from Fresno. Thank you all for being here. Other big news of the day, A, should California sue the federal government on whether or not you can defend the border? That's one big issue. The other issue here is Michael Cohen pleading guilty. And what does this mean for the president? If you missed it earlier, we'll replay the president's comments. But here's our own Catherine Herridge from Fox News describing what happened.
When the president's former personal attorney testified behind closed doors to the Senate Intelligence Committee last year, he also provided a 2-page written summary about a Moscow real estate project. According to a draft obtained by Fox, Cohen told congressional investigators the proposal was under consideration at the Trump Organization from September 2015 until the end of January 2016. But Cohen told the New York court the discussions lasted another 5 months. Cohen continued, I never considered asking Mr. Trump to travel to Russia in connection with this proposal. To the best of my knowledge, Mr. Trump was never in contact with anyone about this proposal other than me on 2 occasions.
And there we have it. Of course, people are speculating all the time. What does this mean? Will the president be impeached? Look, as I've said to you many times, elections have consequences. The country decided to go with the Democratic House, and then we will see whether or not the country is happy with endless investigations, endless speculation, and endless shenanigans, and endless government spending. Now, if the Republicans had kept their word, with all due respect, it's easy for me to say this, but had passed real-life health care reform, had done the infrastructure deal, they'd still be in power, right? So we're going to see, they'd have a fence, they'd have a wall, but they didn't. So now we're going to see whether or not the country likes a Democratic House, a Republican Senate, and a Republican president. By the way, Paul Ryan, soon to be outgoing Speaker of the House, had this to say on the Cohen deal.
He should be prosecuted to the extent of the law.
Apparently he was. Here's the president.
He was given a fairly long jail sentence, and he's a weak person. And by being weak, unlike other people that you watch, he's a weak person, and what he's trying to do is get a reduced sentence. So he's lying about a project that everybody knew about.
And there we have it. The president not very happy with Michael Cohen. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. You're listening to 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Kevin Miller from the College of Idaho. Thanks to our friends at CapEd Credit Union and Team Mazda Subaru. And I really wish, wouldn't it be nice if we would just go back to reporting instead of speculating? And that's what we're seeing here with our friends in the media. Everybody's speculating. Oh, this is the end of the line for the president. Oh, this is going to be something that is going to be challenging. Oh, this is going to be something that we all should look out for. Well, really? What if there's nothing there with the Russian collusion? And should somebody be held accountable for something that happened before they were the president? That's another big issue that will be brought up. So we're going to take a look at that this morning. We appreciate your phone calls. Got a lot going on, especially about this case involving the folks in California looking to take legal action. I'm not making this up. This is from the Associated Press, where you have the California Attorney General is assessing whether the state can take legal action over the president's administration's use of force against the migrants that were breaking in. They've received complaints. They want to take the president to court and handcuff him. You know, our friend Mark, will just say that, wrote a brilliant book about the tyranny of the bench, which I'm sure still is a bestseller. The bench was there to litigate disputes between the executive and the legislative, not to create doctrine, right? Isn't that what we're seeing? A lot going on here today. We appreciate you. Let's find out what's happening in your world on 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie.
Good morning, Kevin.
Kevin Miller in the morning here, KIDO Talk Radio. By the way, coming up, don't forget today at 9, Glenn Beck and Dave Ramsey continue on here right after me, listening to the best talk here in the Treasure Valley. 90 years. Do you believe that 90 years KIDO Talk Radio has been on the air? Idaho's first radio station. So before Facebook, television, or something called FM radio, was right here on KIDO Talk Radio. Join us next year as we celebrate our 90th anniversary serving the Treasure Valley. That commitment continues. Today from the College of Idaho, Jim Everett joining us, co-president. Of course, we've known Jim as the CEO of the Treasure Valley YMCA. I ran into him in the pool last year, and here he is now. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Kevin.
From the pool to the presidency, how does that happen?
That's a great question. It wasn't in the plan. As you said, I retired after what I consider just a blast working for the Y for 41 years. Last 29 in Boise as the CEO and retired briefly. I knew I wasn't going to stay retired. And my friend Marty Holly called me when there was an opening over here to coach the swim team. And I thought, perfect. What a great retirement job. And I loved it for 2 years. And then had this opportunity. And my friend Doug Brigham, who I just think the world of, said, what do you think about a co-presidency? We got approached about throwing our hat in the ring, and neither one of us was really looking for a new opportunity. But the more we talked about it, the more we got excited, especially about the opportunity to do this in a co-presidency model. So we're here having fun and lots of work to do, but it's a great place to be.
How does that work? Because, we always hear there's only one quarterback, only one president.
Yeah, we have had a lot of questions about that. Where's the buck stop? And, when we went through the interview process, that was the biggest question. How is this not going to be bureaucratic, and how are you going to make decisions, tough decisions? Frankly, that has not been a problem, and I'll tell you why I think that is. And I'll take it back to my old life working at the Y. You get people on the same page. You create a shared vision, and decisions aren't that difficult. If they're difficult at the top, heaven help you as an organization. You've got to have people making decisions every day at all different levels without having to run it up the flagpole to the executive office. We really have not had any challenges yet and I don't expect we will. We know where we're going. We know why we're here. There's no ego involved. Doug's just the greatest guy to work with. He's here. He's the hero in this thing. He could have gone out and worked in private industry and made a lot of money.
Right, and you could have stayed in the pool.
And I could have stayed in the pool and been pretty happy. I thought that was my retirement job. But I've been lucky to always find a calling in life, and this is a calling. This place is special. You get around here, and it gets in your blood.
How does it compare, though, for being at the YMCA in Boise? You got your Boise, you got your Canyon County, you got your Caldwell. So culturally, is it a shift for you?
Not really, Kevin. It's Idaho.
I'm with you,
but I don't think it is. And we built a Y over here in Caldwell, and I fell in love at that time. It's a little bit, and I want to be careful how I say this, but in some ways it's going back in time in a good way. We embrace technology, we do all the things over here, but there's a sense of community over here, and that is really exhibited on this campus. Come to our basketball game tonight. You will see the stands full of fans. We just had a couple give us a house. They don't have any connection to the College of Idaho other than it's become their adopted home. They donated their home to the college because they've enjoyed watching basketball. They've enjoyed seeing our student athletes. That kind of stuff doesn't happen. It's a little bit of small town America. We're not small town. We're growing, but there's that attitude of neighbor helping neighbor, and I love it. Absolutely love it.
You bring up a good point, though, because there is a huge amount of influx of folks coming in. I give Chandler, our field producer, a hard time because he's got his California plates still.
Yeah,
Are you seeing that at your level here? A lot of folks coming in from out of state.
Well, whether you're talking about at the community level or at the college level, at the college level, absolutely. But we're still Idaho based. We're 55 to 60% in any given year Idaho kids, and we want to stay that way. We think that's great. We are an Idaho, proudly an Idaho. We're the College of Idaho.
Right.
At the same time, we want our kids to be exposed to different perspectives. That's what college is about. And one of the things we're most proud of, you talk about out of state, yes, we've got 36 states represented at the college, but we've got 74 different countries represented here. We think that is a huge differentiator in a world where these students are exposed day in and day out to different perspectives. So it's fabulous over here. We're the most diverse 55 acres in the state of Idaho.
55 acres.
The most diverse 55 acres.
Indeed. President Jim Everett joining us, Co-President Jim Everett joining us, College of Idaho. Kevin Miller in the morning on KIDO Talk Radio. President Bush used to talk about the vision thing. What's the vision thing?
Well, the vision here is that we believe in liberal arts education now, and I listened to David before, and it has nothing to do with liberal in terms of politics.
Now, wait a minute. This is interesting that you've both had that disclaimer on this program. We would never associate.
Some do. It's funny. We've had some people that they initially do. So it's really about exposing people to a breadth of information. Now they get depth, but we think in a world that's changing, where jobs that exist today won't exist in 5 years, and jobs that we've never heard of will be in existence. Students need to have that breadth. They need to learn how to learn. They need to have a curiosity. So our vision for this place is to, first of all, we've listened to everybody, to all of our faculty, and we think it's about creating one C of I. You can get any place, and you can get all these little factions, and we've got to all pull together around. It's about a great student experience, an extraordinary student experience. We think it's about making the circle bigger. What does that mean? It's about who's not out, who's left out, who can we bring into that circle. Also about making our own circle bigger, being curious about different perspectives. That's a big part of the vision. From a business standpoint, that vision is we've got to get back to we are a business.
Right.
Like it or not, we have to operate on a sustainable model, and we've had a challenge with that historically.
Well, I was going to say it's a very competitive landscape just here in the Treasure Valley. You have, a lot of colleges, a lot of great colleges here. So how does that all work, the educational neighborhood here in the Treasure Valley? What is your part in that?
Well, our part is we are the liberal arts college, so it's very important we have choices in this in the state and in this nation. You look at CWI, 33,000. I mean, they were the fastest growing community college in the nation, and that they play a tremendously important role. Boise State has grown, our neighbors just to the east of us at NNU. Our niche is that we can provide this an education, and what people don't realize, 30% of our students are first generation.
Yeah.
Over 30% are identify as non-white. About a third of our students can only afford to pay about $1,000 toward their college education. So people look at the College of Idaho and think, we know it's a great school, but it's not affordable. We are extremely affordable.
Let me jump in for a second because, we just had I'm sure you saw it in the paper, I'm going to die before I pay off my student loan debts.
Yeah.
That is such an undercurrent, but it's the world you live in, sir. I mean, that is such a huge concern.
It is the world we live in now. We fare well against our peers, and our peers, and I say our peers, there are different ways to evaluate.
Sure.
But in this region, you're not going to come out of here with any more debt than you would at a Boise State or a U of I. So we do pretty well there. Our challenge, from a business standpoint, is often we say, Kevin, you're a great student, you've worked hard, we're going to give you a $20,000 scholarship. You're elated with that? That scholarship, though.
Hold on, I like how you said that. You're elated with that.
Yeah, you are. Well,
Right.
Yes. You're not surprised, elated.
Right.
There's a difference between being surprised and elated.
This is why you're the co-president. Yes,
you're
okay.
elated, and
Okay.
you've earned it.
Right.
But it's not really a scholarship; it's a discount. So there's a difference. The discount rate across the nation now is 60%. So people pay on average 40% of the sticker price. If you're at Harvard, that's great because it's all backed up with a large endowment, and there's real dollars behind that $20,000 scholarship. Often for us, the discount isn't backed with dollars, so we're just giving you a discounted rate.
Right.
We have got to raise more money to support those, and we've had some really good successes. Winston Moore, I don't know how well you know Winston, a developer in this community, 94 years old, wonderful guy, just gave us $1 million, and it's to support scholarships and outdoor programs. So we're trying to get the message out. I think David said it well. Education is the ticket. It always has been. It's been the differentiator in this country. It's what made us, has given us that American dream, and it will continue to be.
The final question then, because here we are in Idaho, the best place to live. People like me, like Chandler, come here to live.
Yep.
And we fall in love with it. And then we have the other Idaho where we have the TV ads, people not graduating high school, people looking at education. And for many, many years, I was intimidated by it. I mean, those are college people.
Yeah.
Those are people that graduated high school. And yet this is a real clear challenge.
Yeah, we've got to start earlier. I mean, we're at the end of the pipeline, and David talked a little bit about it, but preschool, we're behind in that area. I'll give you a stat. A child that lives in a family with two parents who are well educated and will hear 30 million more words by the time they're 5 years old than a child from a low-income family. That doesn't mean it's not an indictment against low-income families. They're busy. The myth is they've got 3 jobs.
Well, that's another issue,
much.
yes. 2 parents working 2 or 3 jobs, yes.
So we've got to create opportunities for those kids. We've got to expose them to reading. We've got to expose them to the fact that they can go to college. I've seen so many kids, they just don't even have any expectation that they can go here. They can come here, and we want kids to come over and see. We've got over 14% of our student body are Latino. Most of them are first generation. They're amazing students, and they get it. They are appreciative. They don't feel entitled. They know this is their ticket. And our international students are very much that way. They know they have a wonderful opportunity. This is their opportunity. So they work very, very hard.
Well, we worked hard enough today, sir. Good luck with your finals. Finals next week for you.
Finals next week, and we got a big game tonight and tomorrow night, and a basketball game.
And meeting with the governor.
And meeting with the governor at 9 o'clock, so the C of I alum governor.
All right.
Thanks a lot, Kevin.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate all you do.
Thank you. We'll see you in the pool.
See you in the pool.
Okay, take care. Let's go to Hank in Boise. Hank, thank you for your patience. You're on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller in the morning. Hello, Hank.
Hello. Good morning. Just briefly, before I go to my main topic, Governor Smiley never got the recognition for saving the College of Idaho that he really deserves, because when President Knox was running the college in the 70s, he ran the school down, didn't take care of the endowments, and the school was facing bankruptcy, closure of the doors, and Smiley played a role as serving as temporary president of the College of Idaho, of getting Joe Albertson to donate to the school, because they were both College of Idaho alumnus, and he basically saved the school. And this is something that I think Smiley deserves some recognition, at least on the campus of C of I, for his role in saving the school. And that's my point on that. Going to my main topic, I think that the Mueller is simply a political hack, and these people are political hacks who are basically crooks. Suborning perjury, I would think that the Mueller should be charged himself for suborning perjury, that he and his team basically are using these people, these long prison sentences for these people to lie. Isn't there a law against anybody or a prosecutor suborning perjury?
I would agree with you, Hank.
And I think that they need some that the President Attorney General should have some oversight. They politically probably can't touch it because you got people like our good Speaker Ryan who would get all upset. Your Jeff Flakes will get upset about touching the precious little Mueller. But maybe they should have a federal oversight on these people, other than Rosenstein, who's also one of the crooks, and basically investigate whether or not they're suborning perjury. So that's my point for the day.
Well, thank you, Hank. Appreciate you listening. More coming up from the College of Idaho. CapEd Credit Union and Team Mazda Super presents Promote Our Schools, Secure Our Future. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.
Of New York. He's the ranking member of the House Judiciary Committee, expected to become the chairman of that committee when the Democrats take control in January. Thanks so much for being here. Appreciate it. So this is clearly not welcome news for the president. I don't want to pretend that it is, but once again, I look at these documents and I don't see any evidence of conspiracy between members of the Trump team and members of the Russian government to interfere in the election.
There we have it. By the way, that is Jake Tapper of CNN with Jerry Nadler, who will be the ranking member of the House Judiciary Committee. He is going to be the chairman. And here you have Jake Tapper saying, look, I see the documents. I see the Cohen plea. I don't see any evidence of any collusion. I don't see any evidence of a conspiracy between members of the administration and the Russian governments. By the way, you're listening to 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller in the morning. And here we have Jake Tapper spelling it out. So, Jerry, what's your response?
Well, first of all, the president obviously has to be feeling very upset and angry now that we know that Michael Cohen was lying to Congress on his behalf, and he has to be upset about what Michael Cohen has admitted to now, and presumably what he will admit to. And what he's admitted to is that he was negotiating a corrupt business deal in Russia on behalf of the president during the campaign.
Right, but it has nothing to do with the campaign, which is the whole juxtaposition of the Mueller investigation. And here we have it. Now, I've heard from people in Washington, I can't reveal my sources, and this is no hype, no hyperbole, that believe that this is all much ado about nothing. That is not spin. And my source comes from the highest within the Justice Department, within the White House, who has direct knowledge of what Mueller has, who has been involved in interviews. And I'm not making this up. No hyperbole here. I just stumbled onto this, and somebody said, hey, Kevin Miller, this is what you need to know. This is what you need to tell the folks in Idaho. So we're going to spend a bunch of money on all these investigations just to pull the gotcha card. Isn't that what it's about, Congressman Nadler?
When the president was saying there was no there was no business deal.
You call it a corrupt business deal?
Well, the fact that it was negotiating with a foreign power for business deals while you're running for president.
Not illegal, you mean like more just colloquially.
Yes.
Right. And this is why I like Jake Tapper. We've known Jake for years based on his writings in the Washington Monthly, before he went to Salon, before he went to ABC. That is a clarification you're not going to get anywhere else. It may be immoral, it may be unethical, but it is not illegal. You hear Nadler backing up on this. Jake Tapper doing a very good job on this. More on that in a minute. First, traffic and weather together.
Devin Zeri Gabbard.
A business deal?
Well, the fact that it was negotiating with a foreign power for business deals while you're running for president.
Not illegal, you mean like more just colloquially.
Yes.
Right. Not illegal. Not illegal, Congressman Nadler.
But still no conspiracy.
And still no conspiracy. There we have it. Jake Tapper from CNN. Don't think the president will be calling him fake news today. Kevin Miller from the College of Idaho. More coming up. Won't you stay with us? Fox News next. Good morning.